Today, we will be reviewing how my $140,000 portfolio performed in September. We had a pretty high month for dividends, and the market also increased overall. Let's look at which stock appreciated the most, as well as how much in dividends I received for the month of September. I've pulled everything into a tracking sheet, so let's get into it. Now, looking at my portfolio, there are quite a few holdings here. I have about 12 different stocks and ETFs, as well as a private credit position, and finally some cash that I'm holding onto. There's a couple of graphs here on the side as well, showing both my holdings and a percentage breakdown overall for my portfolio. Now, starting off with the first holding I'd like to show you, it is VDY. This is a Vanguard owned ETF, and they are a great dividend source. I have received $87.63 this month, and they do pay on a monthly basis. So for me, this is a great source of recurring income into my portfolio. This payment also represents a 5.6% yield on cost for my purchase, and this is one of the biggest positions in my portfolio. They make up about a quarter of my overall holdings. Now, historically, they have been returning about 10% per year, so combining this with their high dividend payouts has made them one of my favorites for this portfolio. The holdings are also very good. It's large Canadian companies such as Royal Bank of Canada, TD Bank, Enbridge, Canadian Natural Resources, and so on. They have a nice blend of financials and energy that make up this fund, and it makes it very attractive for an investor like me that enjoys monthly income. Now, the next one I have here is XEQT. This is a BlackRock fund that holds a number of global entities. Similar to VDY, this is a quarter of my portfolio overall, and I'm mainly holding them for asset growth. But in addition to this, they also paid me $56.35 as part of their quarterly dividend. Now, this is only a 1.5% dividend, but as mentioned before, this is not intended to be a dividend-paying ETF. They have reported past performance of 10% returns per year, and they also have the fund extremely diversified. Their top holdings are in financial services and tech, but based on the fund information, they have holdings in pretty much all of the available sectors. Now, the next holding I have here is TELUS. They paid me $49.20 as part of their quarterly dividend. They make up only 3.5% of my total portfolio. Now, comparing this to XEQT, which makes up a quarter of my portfolio, they almost paid the same amount, but I still am not a huge fan of this stock. That mainly comes from the fact that I'm down 18% on the shares, and I'm hoping to get out of this position in the near future. I haven't seen much price appreciation, and I've been holding this for almost 2 years now. At this point, I'm just hoping for my total dividends collected to equal out my losses on the shares before I get out of this position, but it looks like I still have a long way to go. Now, the next one I have here is another recurring monthly dividend, and it is ZWB. This is an ETF owned by BMO Bank, and it mainly holds a number of different Canadian banks. Their dividend is quite high at about 7% yield, which for me paid me $44.30 this month. Again, this is a monthly dividend, so it's recurring income coming into the portfolio. Now, the fund itself hasn't had a great track record for increasing the value over the last few years, and for that reason, I've been considering exiting the position. For me, I want to hold on to funds that are both increasing the asset value while increasing the dividends. Having a high dividend payout is great. However, if the fund is not appreciating, it is hard to see this as a long-term position if there's no growth. I also received a dividend from ZWU, which is BMO Bank's ETF for utilities. Similar to ZWB, they pay a 7% dividend, and this comes on a monthly basis. For this month, I received $39.83. However, I'm down 3% on the shares, and I've been holding them for a couple of years now. The total dividends I've collected are up to $844.50, which outweighs my losses on the shares. Since I haven't seen much growth at all on the fund price, I'm planning to exit out of this position in the coming months as well. Now, for the remaining positions, most of them are relatively small. A number of them paid a $20 or $10 dividend, but this brings my total up to $363.27 for the month of September. In terms of my private credit position, I still haven't received a monthly distribution on this, but I just entered into it last month, so I'm planning to have this hopefully for my October dividends. Now, the total for my September 2024 gain, including all of my price appreciation and dividends, comes out to $2,000. Now, as mentioned, 360 of this comes directly from dividends, while the rest of it was from asset increases. Some of these larger positions, such as XEQT and VDY, increased by $500 each on the shares, making up most of these gains. But there were also some of the smaller positions, such as VFV and ZWT, which also increased by $200 on these shares as well. Now, TELUS was red last month, so I did lose money on them, which just gives me another reason to want to exit this position. And now just a summary on how the portfolio overall has done with the current holdings. On the shares themselves, so everything I've got, I'm currently up $13,000. A lot of this is driven by XEQT, as 6,500 of this comes directly from that holding. VDY also contributes quite a bit to this, with $4,000 combined from both their dividends and stock appreciation coming from that fund. And on that note, that wraps up my portfolio update for September 2024. Hopefully next month, the portfolio can continue growing and the dividends can keep on increasing. I'll update you with any changes I make, and feel free to subscribe if you'd like to keep up with the portfolio growth.